Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this super cozy and chunky and soft crochet afghan. So I was working on this afghan over Vlogmas, and it is so cozy and soft and comfy, and I told you guys I would do a tutorial, and I was hoping to get it out a little bit sooner, so I do apologize, but today is the day I'm going to show you how to do this. It's hard to hold up for the video here, but the outside edge features this ribbed looking edge border along the length of it, and then it also has that ribbed border along the top and bottom edges, and then on the inside it has this really soft squishy texture that I think you guys are going to love. This is a very beginner friendly project, so if you are new to crochet, I say go for it. It's super easy once you get the rhythm down. It's perfect for working on in the evenings when you're watching movies or just hanging out with family, and it's just a lot of fun. Now my finished blanket is going to be about 55 by 75, but you can adjust this pattern very easily to make it any size you want. You could do a baby blanket out of this. I think that would be perfect, so you'd want to make that a little bit smaller, but I'll show you how to do that in today's tutorial. It's really easy. I used this big twist yarn from Joann, so if you are seeing this video and you can still grab some, definitely head to your store and see if you can get it. But any bulky 5-weight yarn would be perfect, like the Bernat blanket yarn. I just like this color, and I happen to be shopping in store for this blanket. This is in the colorway Earl Grey, so if you can still get the big twist Earl Grey yarn, I would highly recommend it. It's really soft and cozy to work with. I used 10 balls for this whole blanket. My blanket's finishing at 55 by 75. You can make this in any size that you want, and that would decrease obviously the amount of yarn that you need, but I figured I would just throw that out there in case you want to do the exact same size I do. And then in today's video, I'm just going to do a small little swatch so you can see the overall pattern and I can fit it all on camera. But then if you would like, I do have a PDF pattern for the whole afghan as well available in my store, so I will link that below and you can check that out as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. So supplies for this project are really easy. I did already tell you that I've been using the Big Twist Posh. It's in the bulky 5-weight, and this one is in the color Earl Grey, so it's just a really nice neutral gray tone. I am also using my Clover Amour. This is an L 8.0 millimeter crochet hook, and I love the Clover Amours. They're one of my favorites. The only other thing you're really going to need is some stitch markers, and you're going to want these kind that can open up for your crochet projects. So I usually have 3 of these going for this blanket. I put 1 on each end, and then I have an extra one that I keep on the end in case I have to stop in the middle of a row so I can, to go do something. I can grab that one off the end and just stick it in my stitch so it doesn't get pulled out when I toss my blanket in the basket. So I like to have 3 of these. And then the only other thing you might need at the end is some scissors. I haven't used any throughout this whole process for the blanket because I just keep adding a new ball of yarn, and so I'll cut it at the end, so you don't even really need these yet, and then a yarn needle to weave in your ends. Okay, so let's take a close-up look of what the edges of the blanket look like. So we've got this longer section. This is my side of my blanket, so we'll have a long ribbed section, and then this will be the top and the bottom of our blanket. And so I've got the rib section up here and along the sides, and then I have our cute texture in the center. When you're making yours, you can make it any size you want, but I did 8 rows of the ribbing this way, which means I also did 8 stitches of ribbing for this section. That'll keep this section and this section even, so that your border looks even all the way around your blanket. So you can do 2 rows or 4 rows or 6 rows, but then you would just do 2, 4, or 6 stitches this way. Hopefully that makes sense. The only other thing you need to do in your calculations is make sure that the inside of your blanket is an even number of stitches, because we're gonna have a 2-stitch repeat going all the way across. So you can do whatever you want on the borders here and here, but then just make sure that whatever's between your top and bottom border, here's my bottom border, it's so hard to fit on here, I'm sorry. Just make sure that however many stitches you have in between these two is an even number of stitches, and you'll be all set to go, and you can make this whatever size you want. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna start off by making a slip knot, and it's super easy. You just make a loop like this, push your tail up through that loop, and then just pull to tighten, and then you can just place that on your hook and just pull again to tighten. Now we're going to start chaining stitches. We're going to chain however many stitches we want for our top border and our bottom border, and then an even amount in between. So I'm going to do 4 stitches, 6 stitches, and 4 stitches. So we need to go ahead and cast that on. So to do a chain stitch, you're just going to yarn over, and I like to hang on to the tail with my left hand so I can have some tension on that and then just pull through. All right, so that's 1. We need 3 more for this top border. So yarn over, pull through, that's 2. Yarn over, pull through, that's 3. And yarn over, pull through, that's 4. All right, so that's gonna be our top edge. And then now we want to do 6 for the center of our blanket, or this is gonna be probably like coaster size. So we're gonna yarn over again and pull through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we need 4 more for the bottom edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I could have just said to cast on 14, but I just want you to understand what you're doing when you're casting on. So you've got 4 for your top edge, 4 for your bottom edge, and then 6 in between. And then now at the end of every row going forward, we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work and we're going to work back across. And that chain 1 just ensures that you have the same amount of stitches going back across. If you forget that chain at the end, your blanket will actually just get smaller and smaller, and we don't want that. So as you can see here, my chain is coming out of this stitch right here. We're coming out of this stitch. So we don't want to go back in that stitch. We want to go in this one, which is right next to that stitch. Okay, and we're going to do a single crochet in each stitch all the way back down, and we're just going to go into this 1 loop. So right into there, yarn over and pull up a loop. You're going to have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and then pull through those 2 loops, and that's your first single crochet. And this is where I like to take my stitch marker and go ahead and mark that stitch so that when I come back around, I'll know where my ending stitch is. It's just a lot easier to see, and especially if you're new to crochet. So we're coming out of this stitch, we're going to go into this stitch again with a single crochet. So pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's our second one. We're going to go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Go into your stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're just going to do that single crochet in each stitch all the way back down our chain. All right, and then don't forget your last one here that your yarn is coming out of. Okay. All right, so this is what our piece should be looking like now. We've got our first row. Now, like I said before, at the end of each row, we're going to chain 1. So chain 1, and then we're going to turn our work around, and we're going to be working a single crochet in each stitch back along this ridge, but we're going to be working in the back loop. So when you see your stitches, these 2 legs are a stitch. Each time you see one of these little V's, that's a stitch. This stitch towards me is the front loop, and this stitch behind me is the back loop. So if I said to work in the front loop, you'd be going in this one. If I say work in the back loop, you'll be going in this one. And we're always going to be working in the back loop. So we're going to go ahead and just put our hook back in. We're not going to go into the stitch that our hoop loop is coming out of. We want to go into the next one. So we're going to put our hook in that back stitch of that leg, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's our first stitch. I am going to grab another stitch marker and again mark that stitch. So you can see here I have a marker on both ends so I know which stitch is my last stitch. That's going to make it a lot easier, especially if you're new to crochet. So we're going to continue doing a single crochet in the back loop of each stitch across. So again, here's our front loop, here's our back loop. We're going to go in that back loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Go in the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, go into the back loop and pull through 2. And going into the back loop like this is what is going to give you that ribbed look. So it's almost like a cheater knit stitch using crochet. So it looks like we have a ribbed border, but it's not. which is kind of a nice little feature, I think. Okay, so here we are at our last stitch. So I know that this is the end. If this wasn't here, I think you can see how it'd be sort of tempting to think that you were done at this point, in which case your piece would just slowly start getting smaller and smaller. So I like having this in here, especially on large projects like this, so that I know, okay, I'm at my last stitch now. And you can kind of see that rib starting to happen there. Okay, so again, we're going to chain one. All right, and then we're going to turn our work. And again, we're going to do single crochet in the back loop of each stitch across. We're not going to go back into the stitch we're coming out of. We're going to go into the stitch next to it. All right, so there's our first single crochet. I'm now going to move my stitch marker and put it onto that first stitch so that when I come back around, I will see it and I won't have any questions about where that is. And then now we can continue on with our single crochet in the back loop of each stitch across. Okay, and then here we are at our last stitch. Again, I have my stitch marker in there, so I know that's my last stitch. I'm going to chain my work, again, turn it, and again, we're going to do a single crochet in the back loop all the way across, starting in the stitch next to the one our hook is coming out of. I'm going to move my stitch marker to that stitch just to mark it again for me. And again, we're going to do another row of single crochets in the back loop only all the way across. All right, and then here we are back to our marker, and I think you can see how that marker is being helpful and doing its job. Again, we're going to chain one and turn our work. Okay, so here's what our piece is looking like so far. So you can see that rib design coming out. Now we're going to go ahead and start the center. This is just going to be like a little coaster. So we're going to do 4 stitches, continuing on in our rib pattern, our center, and then 4 stitches. So to continue on, we're just going to do 4 single crochets in the back loop, just like we've been doing. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I usually count, especially for my blanket, at my stops and starts, I usually count just to make sure I have 4 on my blanket. I did 8. So hopefully you can see those stitches right there. They're pretty easy to count, and I did forget to move my marker, but I will move my marker up to that end stitch for every row as I go. It just really helps keep track of that end stitch for me. So now I can count my stitches really easily. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to start our center texture section, and this is really easy. We're going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch, and then a half double crochet, and a slip stitch and a half double crochet. And we're just going to keep alternating those 2 stitches all the way across for this little guy, 6 stitches for your blanket for several. And to do a slip stitch, we're just going to go into both legs of our stitch. We've previously been going just into this back leg, but now we want both. We're going to wrap our yarn over our hook, pull it through, and then pull it through the stitch on the loop on our hook. Okay, so that's your slip stitch. The next stitch is a half double crochet. So to do a half double crochet, we're going to yarn over. We're going to the next stitch. Again, we're getting both legs of that stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And we're going to do that all the way across till we have 4 stitches remaining. So again, slip stitch is just go into both legs of your stitch, pull up a loop, and pull that through, and then half double crochet. So yarn over, go into your stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Slip stitch, half double crochet. And then we're going to end with a slip stitch. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left, which means it's time for our ribbing. So we're just going to go right into that back loop and do our single crochet in a back loop for the last 4 stitches. So again, a single crochet as you pull up that loop and then pull through both. So go into the back loop and pull through 2, go into the back loop and pull through 2, and then here's our last stitch. and pull through 2. And then again, like I mentioned, at the end of every row, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. And now we're going to go back with 4, our pattern, and then 4. And you can already see that that pattern is coming out right here. So it's going to be cute. So we're going to do 4 single crochets in the back loop. So there's 1. I'm going to move up my marker again so that I know where my last stitch is. That's 1, 2, 3, and this last one is a little tight, 4, and I always just check to make sure I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then again going back, we're going to slip stitch, half double crochet, slip stitch, half double crochet, and I'll show you in a couple rounds, but it'll start being really clear where those half double crochets are. You can see it pretty good now. The half double crochets are the stitches that look like this with this big long stitch, and then the slip stitches almost don't look like a stitch. They're just like a little tiny hole in between. And so you're going to do the slip stitches and the slip stitches and the half double crochets and the half double crochets. So you'll be able to see that as you go. But here's our tiny little hole here. We're going to do a slip stitch there. And then here's our half double crochet. So we're going to do a half double crochet there. And when you do that, you're not catching this long one. You're going into these 2 right there. So you're going into the top of your stitch just like before, and that leaves this long one out, which is what gives that texture. Okay, so we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So we have our 3, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then we're going to do a slip stitch. So here's our slip stitch area, which like I said, it just looks like almost like a little tiny hole. We're going to go in there and slip stitch. Here we can see we've got another half double crochet stitch. So we're going to do a half double crochet, and then we've got our slip stitch. And I always, when I get close here, I just check to make sure I'm on track. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, which means I've got a half double crochet and a slip stitch left. Okay, so we're going to do half double crochet and a slip stitch. All right, and then we have our 4 stitches left. So that means now we're going to do a single crochet in the back of those back loop of those last 4 stitches. So that's going to continue on with our rib pattern on the edge. And if you want, you could put a stitch marker right here too, just so that you don't miss it. But I always just look when I get to the end. All right, so then we're going to do a chain 1 again. So chain 1, we're going to turn our work. We're going to do, again, 4 single crochets in the back loop. So again, 1, move your marker up to that last stitch, and then 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and then now we're back to our texture. So we're going to start out again with a slip stitch in this. So we're going to again repeat that pattern. So slip stitch in the next stitch, half double crochet, and here you can see our sideways half double crochet, slip stitch, and then here you can see this long stitch hanging out. That means we need to do a half double crochet. Again, you don't want to grab that stitch, you want to grab the 2 legs above it, slip stitch, half double crochet, and then we're ending with a slip stitch, and then I think we're at the end. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, I always recount just to make sure, so we're going to do 4 single crochets in the back loop. And we're in our last stitch right there, 4. All right, again, chain 1, turn your work. We're going to do 4 more single crochets in the back loop. And this is the pattern. You're doing 4 single crochets in the back loop. You're doing your slip stitch, half double crochet pattern, and then 4 single crochets in the back loop. And again, I forgot to move my marker, so we're going to put that. Okay, and then here is what it looks like. So again, I move my marker to the last stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then now we're going to do our slip stitch half double crochet pattern going across. And you can really start seeing that. So the one that looks like a little hole that's almost not a stitch, but when you look from the top, you can see that it's a V. That's your slip stitch. This one with these lines going a little bit diagonal is your half double crochet. So slip stitch, half double crochet, slip, half double crochet, slip, half double crochet, slip. So again, we're going to slip stitch and then half double crochet, and we're just repeating that all the way across until we get to the other end, and then we'll finish that off with 4 of our single crochets in the back loop. All right, so I'm here. The other thing that helps me remember is I always start and end with a slip stitch. And so when I get to the end, if I've slip stitched and I don't see any more of these little diagonal stitches, I know I'm probably at the end. And then I always just count really quick before I start. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we're gonna single crochet in the back loop over those last 4 stitches. Just like that. Again, chain 1, we're going to turn our work. Again, we're going to single crochet for 4 stitches in the back loop, and I'm going to move up my marker. Got it, got my last stitch marked. So that was 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, and then now we're doing our pattern again for the middle, which is slip stitch, half double crochet all the way across. Slip stitch, oops, half double crochet. All right, and then I know I have to end with a slip stitch. And I think I've got all my little guys, and I should have 4 left. 1, 2, 3, 4. So single crochet in the back loop for the last 4 stitches. And then here we are at our last stitch. All right, and then again, chain 1, and you're just going to keep repeating that until you make it whatever size you like. Now when you're doing the blanket, this is going to be your length from here to here. This is going to be your width. So my blanket is 75 inches long this way, and then it's about 55 this way. And so I just would make a chain for however long you want your blanket, and then go ahead and just keep going until it's as wide as you want. And as long as you have enough yarn, you can just, you know, make it any size you like. Now, because this is just a sample video, I'm going to do another couple rows, and then I'll meet you back here and I'll show you how to finish it off with your rib on the other edge. All right, so I've done a few more rows, and then now I'm going to just show you how to end it off, and we're just going to end it off the same way we started, which is with our ribbed stitching. And it's going to be really easy, but I just wanted to show you the basics of what that texture is going to look like. Obviously, this is a much smaller scale than the blanket, but I think you can see it's really cute. And I did, I think, 14 rows. So each one of these where you can see these diagonals is our half double crochet. So this is 2 rows, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And you can also do the same thing with the rib. So each time you have the rib, it's 2 rows. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So if you want to know how to count these, honestly, for a blanket or for something like this, I'll just go till it looks good. But if you want to know, that's how many I did. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn and work our way back. And we're going to work our way back just like we do for this rib section. So we're just going to do a single crochet in the back loop, but now we're just going to do it all the way across. So again, I'm starting in the stitch next to the stitch that my loop is coming out of, and I'm just doing a single crochet in that back loop. I'm again going to mark that stitch, and then now we're going to single crochet in the back loop, but instead of just doing 4 and then our pattern, we're actually just going to single crochet all the way across. So here's our first stitch. This is the one we would be doing a slip stitch in. I'm just going to grab that back leg, single crochet. Here's our next stitch, which was the half double crochet. Again, just single crochet. And so you're just single crocheting in the back loop all the way across. So super easy. And then you'll just have as many stitches as you do for your pattern For this one, there's 6. And then here's our last 4. And we're just, again, going to continue on. All right, and there's our last stitch. We're going to chain 1. Again, turn our work. And same thing we did when we started. We're just going to do 4 rows of the single crochet in the back loop in each stitch across. And then we'll have completed that blanket. And so for the blanket, I did 8 rows. So when I came to the end, I did 8 rows of single crochet in the back loop to finish it off. So that just makes everything nice and even all the way around your blanket. And then you have a really nice frame of this ribbing texture that goes all the way around the outside of your blanket. And then if you really wanted to, you could also run a single crochet all the way around the outside edge of the blanket just to finish it off and make it look a little bit more polished. All right, and so that was my last stitch. Again, chain 1. That was our second row, so we just need 2 more rows. Mark that stitch, and we're just going to do 2 more rows. Okay, and here is our finished sample. This will be a cute little mug rug, or you could put a plant on it. And so when you're done, all you need to do is just clip this yarn, pull your end through, and weave in your ends, and you're all good. But you can see how cute this little pattern is. We've got our ribbed edging all the way around, and then we've got our cute little pattern inside. Now this is just a really small sample, so obviously this pattern is going to stand a lot more on the larger blanket version, or if you did a table topper or even a placemat, that would be really cute. And then here is the other side. So it looks good on either side, and it's just a really fun, cute, cozy pattern. So like I mentioned, this was just a sample for the video, but if you would like the PDF pattern in written format, I've got photos and step-by-step instructions for you on there. You're welcome to grab that from my store as well. I will have a link for that below this video. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this pattern. Like I said, it's super beginner friendly and easy, and hopefully that video really helped you out. And now you can go ahead and get started crocheting this fun blanket. That's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can also hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming fun. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next video. Let's see, start over. I used about 10 balls for mine. I used about 10 balls of fabric in this just little 1 stitch right here, slip stitch. I probably should have done a larger sample.